Slobs. Hello! And welcome to Smash Writing. I am your host, the one who is correct, as always, Justin. This is my very wrong associate. Associate, don't bother saying your name, you don't deserve it here. Looking at your list, you don't deserve it.
Okay, just because you think it's wrong doesn't mean that it's not right.
Well, that's very wrong, I mean.
No. Ugh.
Well, I guess I can't say it's all wrong. We do agree on like 2 of these movies.
Just 2?
Yeah. Well, 3.
Well, I don't, like, even though some of yours made the list, I don't disagree with them. But we are counting down, while we are breaking our genres down by decades. We've been doing this with the horror films so far. And now we are in the decades of 1990 to 1999.
Which was very difficult.
Because
good. There's so many horror movies came out in the 90s.
And that's where it really comes down at what made it so difficult, because there's, I mean, if you count our honorable mentions, we probably have 24 films. We have 24 films on our board.
Nearly.
But there's probably still hundreds of others. I mean, we were, just before we started recording, we were looking at the stack just to double check. And just more and more is coming out. But we tried our best. These are our opinions. You guys have your own opinions. But see if you agree with us.
Oh, you'll agree with me.
No, you won't.
You'll call him very wrong.
So, let's start off with Justin's number 10.
My number 10 is one I actually covered recently on the blog site. You should go check that out. Smash Writing. It's Urban Legend. Urban Legend came out in 1998, and it kind of had the misfortune of coming out in 1998 because it had to follow up to like some Scream movies, or 2 of them at that point. Yeah. I Know What You Did Last Summer. It was a month before, I may have been a month after Halloween H2O. So it had the misfortune of having to follow some pretty big juggernauts. But I think they did really well. I love the fact that how they brought these urban legends to life in ways where they fit perfectly into the story they were trying to tell. They worked them in there so well, even having like the killer manipulate the characters to where they needed to be. Rebecca Gayheart killed it too as the killer. I love the intricate stories. The main heroine, played by Alicia Witt, wasn't your clean-cut hero. She did do a lot of things in her past that almost made her guilty, like maybe not worth a death, but you can see why Rebecca Gayheart was fueled by her anger. And plus, a dog in a microwave. What more do you want from a horror movie than a dead dog in a microwave? Good job.
It's hot dog.
I feel ashamed.
Now,
I apologize to Marissa.
Now, one of your favorite actors are in that film too.
Yeah, and this is probably the only time I really liked him in a movie was Jared Leto.
Shocker.
It was. He did really good as the school reporter.
I remember watching this, but I didn't really have an input in, right now talking about it because you reviewed it recently.
Oh, it had Danielle Harris in it as well.
Really?
She's the roommate.
Wow. So
she was the one who died. It was, aren't you glad you didn't turn on your lights, Gil?
Okay.
That was an iconic scene.
My number 10, this one I go back to watching over and over again, is Child's Play 2.
Chucky's ferocious in this movie, especially toward the end.
Yeah. And not to talk about like another decade, but I thought Child's Play 1 was good. Child's Play 3 was... They came out obviously, just a year later, so I'm not saying anything about that, but actually the 90s were Chucky's year, but...
Yeah, maybe. Ride didn't come out until 2000, I believe.
Yeah, so... This one, actually, for a long time, I thought this one was part 1 just by watching it when I was growing up. And
shows us how.
This was when I was growing up.
You were a dumb kid too.
Shut up. Having him, come back, getting his revenge to get Andy Barclay as his,
new body.
His new body.
And you had I like the interaction between him and his adopted sister.
Yep. I mean, he had And his adoptive parents didn't want to, really believe him. They get him a good guy.
Yeah, why
doll.
would they get him a good guy doll? Like, they know
That
he was
is a-
traumatized
I mean-
by good guys, so let's get him a good guy doll.
When you adopt a kid, I'm assuming you get, definitely this was made the news because, everything that happened and his mother going insane, and you end up getting him a
Good guy doll.
doll. You know
Maybe
what?
like 10 years when he's a teenager, you get
Maybe-
a good guy doll.
maybe
just to get him
those-
over that hump.
Maybe those parents had that one coming because that
Maybe,
was just
yeah, maybe they
torturous.
But yeah, I love the scene at the factory, because that was only one of the best finales going, especially like in Child's Play too. It might be in Child's Play. It might be one of the best finales.
Yeah.
Is the chase scene through the factory. The fact that Chucky ran out of time and was stuck in the Chucky doll, and he's just ready to get revenge. And
he's pissed about that.
he's losing body parts. He's stapling himself to wagons and just still going.
And I mean, we all had those teachers too, so he kind of gets revenge on the teacher with Andy Barkley. But I dare to say this might be the best Child's Play.
It's up there. It would be a toss between Child's Play 2 and the original and the remake.
Okay, but
I think those three are like
Close
so
to each
close.
other.
Just for me, just neck. It's just
and that is my number 10. Your number 9.
my number 9 is kind of something that breathed fresh life into the slasher genre, especially in the 90s, when at a time where they really needed something big.
Yeah.
And that's the original Scream. And it is almost just so good. There's so little you can actually talk about being a flaw in the original Scream movie. From the kills, the suspense, you're trying to figure out...
Talking about a movie within a movie.
Within a movie, the meta humor within the metagame going on.
And talking about all the plot holes that, as fans, you've always noticed, and they brought it in. Wait! There's more!
Randy's one of the coolest characters, just because he's every person watching this movie.
Yes.
And who will go on to talk about this movie. You're Randy, and I'm Randy, and that is wonderful.
Yes.
Him dying, too, is so sad. That was the sequel. The first movie. Billy was, like... They did such a good job making it obvious that Billy was the killer, and then getting your eyes off of him long enough to be surprised by the fact that he is the killer again.
Didn't it seem like Wes Craven in the 90s had like something good going? Because you still had Wes Craven's New Nightmare, and we talked about the issues with that, but compared to the Final Nightmare Freddy's did...
I love the Final Nightmare.
You would.
I love that movie.
You would.
It's just dumb fun. Enjoy the death.
But, I mean... Wes Craven had to reinvent himself, and he did such a good job. It's everything you just talk about, the mocking the plot holes and making the obvious but not obvious, you really can't go wrong. And
I love the scene with all the students rushing out of the party to go see the dead principal hanging on the field goal post. It's like, oh, what's wrong with all of you?
But damn well, we would have did that as well.
Maybe. This won't get me to do anything.
That part's true. But that is your number 9. My number 9...
Oh, not to mention with Scream, they gave us the best Scream queen of all time. In Sydney. Yes, she's better than Laurie, and you heard me.
Whoa.
You heard me.
Whoa. Whoa.
It's not well, we did that list already. For the 12 people who watched it, you already knew that was coming.
We're working on a bigger audience. Come on, guys.
You say that, yeah. I like the 12 people, personally.
Well, they're all family. No way. My number 9 is Tremors.
Great movie.
I wasn't a fan of this film at first.
How dare you?
But then,
not a
like,
fan
literally,
of
I think I became a fan maybe 6-7 years ago. Really. No, it's not like I never heard of it, because the other one I was more of a bigger fan of.
Well, I think the other one actually nudges it up just a little bit, but the first Tremor movie is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, that's such an original, not original because of Dune and everything, but it's a fascinating story. The little desert town. I love that idea of the little desert town being hunted by this giant worm.
It sounds crazy, but it worked. They sold it pretty good. You had a good cast involved.
Oh, Mike, yeah, Fred Ward, Kevin Bacon, Michael Gross, who would go on to take over the series.
Right.
And if you watch the first movie, you would not think he was going to be the one that would come out of the series as a star.
No.
Because he was such he wasn't he was a minor character.
And yeah, and some people might say, like, with Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward leaving, that it opened the door, but Michael Gross character grew in those films.
Yeah. You
fell in love on top of everything else with this character. But you got to give the original one, props. It did everything right. I'm assuming it was a small budget.
Well, now they get the graboids to look so good on a small budget, but they look so bad on CGI.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Proven point is sometimes
just make the monster.
Making the monster, makeup and practical
I'm sure it was a pain.
I'm
to get the monster
sure.
to work.
Yeah, but
we're doing so much more.
Tremors coming up from 1990 all the way to, you're talking about 30 years?
30 years last year.
30 years last year, and this film can still be with a lot of horror fans. That is a good thing.
Yeah.
And that's my number 9. Your number 8.
My number 8 is a movie that I should watch way more than I do now, but it's Species. Everyone's favorite alien movie. Well, that might be stretching it, but it's one of my favorite movies of the decade was Species, with Natasha Henstridge, Forrest Whitaker, Michael Madsen. It has just such a
I forgot
big
Forrest was
array of characters who are all working to try to find the alien before it can mature, before it can breed. And you're just trying to wonder how this movie is going to end, because you feel bad for the alien at the same right. Because of the character, Natasha Henstridge, the actor, did the character so well. Where it's like, you knew it would be a bad thing if she succeeded, but you wanted her to succeed at the same time. And it was just a fun movie throughout the top.
My number 8, once again, I was not a fan of it. I mean, honestly, I was born in '89, so when this came out, I was just a baby, a young toddler.
What'd you just get to?
My number 8 is Silence of the Lambs.
That's probably one movie on this entire list I never watched.
Really?
Never watched it. I just did.
Silence of the Lambs is part of the Hannibal Lecter film series, but obviously, in like a lot of franchises, the first one is the best one.
We could dispute that fact on a later date. I'm willing to bet out of every big monster, there's a sequel better than the original.
I don't know with this one. I've seen them all. There's certain elements I like of others, but this one from start to finish really was good.
The reason I never watched this movie is because it's been parodied to death. I don't feel the need to go back and watch it because I've already seen it in every other venue.
I don't know. I still think like it's one that you should watch. It kind of introduces a new horror icon to us, and that's Hannibal Lecter, who in this one is obviously a psychopathic doctor that's locked up, and FBI needs his help to obviously find Buffalo Bill. One of the best lines of the film.
Hello, Clarice.
What's that?
Hello, Clarice.
There's several that you can name. There's hello, Clarice. Just the way he says it. Simple 2 words, but the way and Anthony Hopkins.
His delivery throughout.
Sir Anthony Hopkins. I gotta give him that. Make sure you add that sir because he is knighted. He is such a good actor, and in this film, he really shows off his acting skills, and you almost seem like Hannibal Lecter and Sir Anthony are one and the same. He makes you believe in the character that he's playing. And, the search for Buffalo Bill, obviously the catch line, put the lotion on his skin, or else it gets the hose again, is legendary. Stupid, but legendary.
That line didn't come to my head.
Really?
I'm sitting here trying to remember about the flava beans and liver. Was that in this movie? The flava beans and the liver?
No, I think that was Hannibal. That was
Hannibal.
Yeah. So you had Anthony Hopkins, you had Jodie Foster. and a good pair. They fed off of each other.
Well, from the scenes I have seen, they play together well.
Yeah, yeah, like it was a good pace. You didn't get bored with it, even though it's a horror film and the story was what you were intense with. But that is my number 8. Number 7.
My number 7 again, another movie I have reviewed recently. You can go check it out on the blog site, Smash Writing.
Smash Writings.
Smash Writing. Oh, that's right.
Because we're 2 of us, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make any kind of fun. My number 7 though, The Craft, starring just some of the most amazing female actresses at the time. I'm gonna pronounce this so wrong. Feruza Balk. I'm so sorry that I butchered that name. Robin Tooney and someone else who would go on to more success later. There's Naveen Campbell. I love the pact, the sisterhood that they share. That each of them had a realistic reason to want to get into witchcraft and learn spells and try to better themselves. And then you see that them get devoured by this power driving them more and more, wanting more and more, especially with Feruza Balk, Miss Balk. I'm just going to call her Miss Balk. I'm not going to try to butcher that name again.
And Campbell, she...
Oh, Campbell was too. Like, she was her story was so sad being the burn victim. And then you just see her become twisted by power and it guts you because she was such a nice person. That was just such a great movie. They hit on all the right notes. They developed the story at a great pace and a really fun finale. Just if you haven't watched any movie like that, witchcraft and everything like that, you can't go wrong with The Craft.
And first off, Campbell, she had actually a good, because Scream 2 came out a year later, like less than a year later.
Yeah.
So she had The Craft, Scream, and Scream 2, literally in like maybe 14-month period?
Probably something like that, yeah.
That's insane. My number 7, growing up, this gave me childhood nightmares, is Candyman. Tony Todd, once again, is such a great horror actor that
his presence in his voice, lifts everything he's in.
Right, yeah, he's a legendary actor, definitely in this genre, and seeing him do Candyman, this film, just gave me nightmares. And you want to talk about, what makes a good horror film. We all have our opinions of what makes it good, whether it's the story, the jump scares, everything else. Like
not jump scares, let's lower that down the list.
Well, some people say, if you jump, but this one had a little bit of everything, and they did it right. They gave the theme song, not the theme song, but the sounds of the movie alone, was catchy and spooky. Then added on, you had Tony Todd.
The urban setting. I do like the urban setting in Candyman.
Yeah, the urban setting was another good aspect. Definitely a kid that came from the urban setting. And I think that's what made me have more nightmares, because everything that they did in the film happened in my urban area. And you just, growing up, seeing that firsthand, that could have been like my neighbor or something. You don't know. It just gave me chills. And to this day, when I watch it, I get out of the kid mode and go, okay, I'm reviewing it. How do I see it as a review? Once again, the sounds, the acting, the storytelling, all made this such a good film. And yeah, you had your little jump scares in there too, but not dramatic. You didn't know if they were coming or not. But everything, this made him a legend in my eyes, Tony Todd.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I know he's in numerous films. I don't know what other films he was in prior to this, but this sold me on his ability. And that's my number 7.
That's funny with the Candyman series. I always like the sequels better.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I know in my heart that that's not true. The first one's better than the sequels. But,
I didn't have a problem with part 2. I really didn't. But with the 90s being so stacked, it failed to make the cut. 2 probably had a better story of his origins, and that was fine.
Well, they kept changing his origins from night to day. I mean,
The part 3 was just terrible because the whole story, the time jump was insane. Yes, they took some of the elements. It's just they just didn't do it right. But part 1 was my number 7.
It is a good movie, though.
Yes, indeed. Now your number 6.
This one is really close between this and 4 for which one is the best one in this series. But I think Halloween H2O was the best depiction of Laurie Strode. Seeing her grow from that character who's hiding from the effects to trying to drink them away, trying to relive her life, to just keep her life on this college campus, choose her son.
Abandoning her daughter Jamie for a new son.
Yeah, that is saucy right there. But
I know they said that ignore the events, but as a fan, we don't because we can jump around and see.
Well, that all depends on who you talk to. Some are glad to ignore H2O, which they should, because it's the best. I love the Frankenstein motif here of her having to face her monster. The ice skate to the face at the beginning of the movie was fantastic. I'll stand by the argument that him not killing the mother and daughter at the rest stop was the smartest thing Michael has done in a long time. Because by not killing them, he didn't leave a body trail to the direction he was going. Because everyone thought he was going to Haddonfield while he was going the other way.
And that's something that they touched upon in part 4, when he was awakened from his coma. When he was going to get to Laurie, he killed everybody in the
he was going to Jamie.
Oh, sorry, Jamie at that point.
He was killing everyone in his sight, and he was leaving a body trail to be followed. In the first one, he left a body trail to be followed. In H2O, he didn't leave a body trail, really.
It's like, as he got older, he wised up. He knew what he was doing wrong and everything like that. I never had.
Not to mention, I loved him stalking people on the college campus.
Yeah, high school.
No, it's campus, college. Was it high school?
Yeah, it's a private. It was a private
campus. I thought it was a private campus.
Because remember the field trip permission slip.
Yeah. I thought it was college. My bad. High school campus. I loved him stalking people on the campus. Beside the ice skate to the face, which was a great reveal.
And that had LL Cool J in it.
Yeah, LL Cool J as the guard. He was amazing. He was great in that movie. Just so much fun.
Wasn't he right? He was writing a horror movie too.
Wasn't it? I thought it was a romance movie he was writing.
Maybe. I didn't remember he was writing a film.
He was working on a novel. I think it was a romance novel, and he switched it to a horror movie at the end.
That was the best. He had a good little movie starting point in his career too, in that late 90s.
But some of those kill scenes, like when the little dung elevator falls on the woman's ankle and you see the bone sticking out as she's trying to crawl away. You do get to reveal, like, she's hanging out with the light sticking out of the hole in her stomach. Like, just so many
at that
scenes.
Point, I think, in my opinion, at that point in the Halloween franchise series, that was a saving one.
Yeah.
Definitely after The Curse, they needed something better.
The Curse wasn't bad, but H2O definitely not.
And then they followed it up with Resurrection.
Resurrection had its flaws, but there were some good things in Resurrection too.
It was updated with the times. I get all that, but
Halloween H2O though definitely needs more love.
Yes, I agree with that one. Like I said, I'll explain my reasoning with missing on that one. But my number 6 is Pet Sematary 2. This film actually grew on me as many times as I watched it. At first, I probably. If this was if I ever had to review the film when it first came out, if I was like an adult or something, I probably would give it a bad review.
It deserves a bad review. Why would you put this
as
on your
I
list?
watched
There's
it,
so many other movies.
As I watched it, it just grew on me from.
Like a tumor. That's not good. You don't want a tumor with a tapeworm.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it wasn't better than the first one. I'll say that much. But the first one was in a different decade. I'm looking at film. We were looking at films in the 90s. Edward Furlong, that creepy teenager that I was rooting for, and then when the film flipped, I was just like, oh, I want him to die now. Like, dude, I was on your side. You were getting punked and bullied and by
Dad.
the dad, the cop dad, the bully from school. You know, they did so much right, but he just. Maybe it was his creepy acting that sold me on that movie.
Who, the dad or the boy?
The boy.
Furlong?
Yeah.
How? You're supposed to feel sympathy for him.
Well, when he decided to be with his dead mother and he went crazy, I kind of lost it for him. But I think it's his Edward's overall creepy acting that just made the movie was bad. But I think
I only really remember one scene of the dad driving the car when he was dead, and he's like, "Arr."
The sheriff.
Yeah, whatever.
His best friend's stepdad.
It's the stepdad, yeah. You just drive him, this dumbest look on his face, like, Jesus, why am I watching this movie?
His zombie face and or back from the dead face, whatever you want to label that they did in the film, was another bright spot with his acting. And by the graces of God, I forgot his name.
Of course you did.
Of course I did. It's not like I have a bunch of other things going on in my mind right now.
Write it down, jackass.
I will try. But even with Edward Furlong,
I don't want this on my search engine.
But
Clancy Brown.
Clancy Brown, I don't understand where I heard that name from, but I seen his face before.
He's a famous actor.
Yeah, no kidding. But Edward Furlong in The Sheriff was just sold it on me. Maybe the whole plot was probably horrible, and all the other acting was horrible, but those two. And I'm not a big Edward Furlong fan. Just this film, I thought his creepiness sold it for me.
T2?
Yeah, I mean, he had. Yeah, if he laid off the drugs, he probably would have had a good career. I'll say that much.
Well, I can say that against any number of people.
Yeah, that is true.
If I laid on the drugs, I'd be more charismatic.
But that's my number 6. And we'll go with your number 5.
My number 5 is Tremors 2.
Aftershock.
Aftershock. I think they built on what the groundwork of Tremors 1 perfectly. I love the fact that we got more Fred Ward in this movie, because I liked him the best out of the first one, but we also got the returning Michael Gross. And I love the dynamic between Ward and Gross here especially. I love like he just had Burt just in his bunker, he's just sitting there eating old war movies, and he has the giant head of the graboid he blew up hanging on his wall. I love the Mexican setting, the Mexican backdrop. I love the natural evolution from graboids to shriekers, because it just felt like it upped the game in a nice way. And they continued that into 3 a little bit at least. But number 2, I feel like they had the horror of the graboids, and they locked you in the mystery of like what just came out of this graboid. And they built the suspense around that. I love like the finale of the explosion, just destroying the warehouse and everything around it. And the characters' dynamics all work well.
It's crazy because I didn't know this till many, many years later. Aftershock was a directed DVD or direct-to-video, whatever you want to call these things.
Yeah.
It was direct-to-video. But it was such a good quality, I thought it was in theater.
It feels like a movie that could have gone to theaters.
And the 90s, when they had some of the direct-to-video ones, like in the early 2000s, the direct-to-video ones were kind of like focusing on nude and all that, but in this time frame, it really caught me off guard that this is a direct-to-video. And I have another one on my list as well that I'm about to talk about that's a direct-to-video, but I thought it was theater quality. And my number 5, obviously, is Pumpkinhead 2 Blood Wings. Once again, I did not know this was a direct-to-video film, and that's a good thing because this is a Pumpkinhead that I watch over and over again. 1 and 2, obviously, were...
Oh, don't ever go past 2.
Yeah.
I made that mistake, and I learned the hard way, never go past 2.
I think the rest... How many were there after?
4 is 4 now.
4, God,
I made a mistake of going past 2. We talked about the CGI graboids being bad. The CGI Pumpkinhead is a nightmare. Just complete dog shit. Nightmare. There's no nice way to put it. The CGI Pumpkinhead is disgraceful. Because Pumpkinhead is such a great looking monster. And I think that's the only thing I liked about 2, though.
Blood Wings, obviously, from the first one we learned that Pumpkinhead is a monster that's based off of
Revenge.
and so every film could have been something different. They played it up with like the witch and the disformed son.
I wanted to see more of the witch, but I feel like they went in the wrong direction with the witch.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care about her and her kid. I want to know about her and her powers.
That is true.
Especially like the comic that came out a few years ago, they talked about the other witches and the other monsters. Like, that could have been cool.
Who knows? I mean, maybe they'll follow up on the comic book materials, but it still had a good little story to it. Like I said, for a direct-to-video, direct-to-DVD film, it blew my mind away, and that's what I liked about it. I did not know this was a direct-to-video film. The quality was there, and even they still used, the makeup and stuff for the monster instead of using CGI. Of course, CGI wasn't big at that point, but sometimes CGI is a bad thing.
Like I said, the Pumpkin, he's memorable. He's a great looking monster.
Now let's go with your number 4.
The Wishmaster! I love this movie. Please bring back Andrew Divoff. He's the saving grace in this movie. First off, I love Andrew Divoff. The guy, the character.
He's like another Tony Todd.
In a way, he is scarier than when he is in the Jinn form. Just the way he holds himself in the voice. He's got that soothing, melodramatic voice, but when you're looking at him, you're like, there's something. He's going to murder me now. I love the idea that he can't, though. You have to wish something for him to twist into a way to kill you. And if you tell him, I love the one scene between him and... I didn't write his name down because I figured I'd remember it. I will remember it in a minute. He played Jason in all the later Fridays. Kane Hodder. There's a scene between Divoff and Hodder in that movie where Hodder's like, I want you to leave. And you see Divoff turn around and he's like dragging his feet like, I can't, I must get inside.
And then the wish was, I want to see you, only way you're getting inside
is if you can go through me, and I would love to see that.
He's like, is that would you wish that? Or like
Then he said, I would love to see that, so he made it happen. Because of the way he worded it.
That was clever.
And I was just like, it wasn't just like you had to wish it. He can twist you. You just had to say those little right lines to be interpreted as a wish for him. Beside Hodder, they had Robert Englund.
Yes.
They had Tony Todd.
Yo.
He was the doorman. He wanted to escape. And he put him in that box with the straitjacket. He's like, Houdini did it in 4 minutes and walked away.
Yeah, that was a good homage thing to every...
It was probably my favorite scene. I probably watched the scene more times than anything was when he was confronting Alexandra. And she's like, I want to see you blow your brains out. And he pulls out a gun and shoots himself in the head. And the brains go shooting out and it just... And he's like, that which is internal cannot die. But if it's any consolation, that hurt like hell.
Yeah. Now, I'm assuming this was Wishmaster a theater release?
You know what? I don't think it was.
Really?
It might have been, but I don't think it was. Keep talking. I will look it up.
Well, okay. Well, I will jump to because obviously I have no problem with Wishmaster. Once again, let's repeat this. The 90s were stacked with a lot of films.
You know, the Wishmaster, like Andrew Divoff, this was probably like 10 years at this point, where it did go to the box office.
Okay.
It had a budget of $5 million and it made 15.7.
Wow. Can't call classic.
Even like the sequels, like...
2.
2, yeah, 2. Don't ever go past 2. Yeah, go past 2 on Pumpkinhead before you go past 2 on the Wishmaster series.
Ooh.
God damn it, did I rip them apart. But Andrew Divoff even said he was interested in coming back. Yes, make that happen. He's so good as a Nathaniel. And the gin looked amazing.
Yes, the practical effects.
The practical effects. The orange eyes on the Wishmaster is probably why he has orange eyes. It got buried deep in my subconscious when I was a kid.
So this one, Justin does not like.
Do not like it.
I'm talking about number 4.
The stain on the community.
The literally, the Blair Witch Project. The found footage thing was so new.
And it was, and it became just a plague.
And you can say because the Blair Witch, I think, probably did so much right with it.
Well, I forgot to be talking about the Blair Witch. Keep talking.
Yes, that is true. The shaky camera. Okay, put it down. The shaky footage camera. Spread it out.
You're fine. The shaky camera, blah, blah, blah.
Got both of us?
Yeah, your head's shining, don't worry.
Okay. The shaky footage, the found footage style, yeah, it became annoying later on, and you can blame it on the Blair Witch.
I blame it on the Blair Witch.
Because the movie did so much right. It made me believe it was real.
How? How did it make you believe it was real?
Because found footage was so new. Small budget, obviously I think it was like $50,000.
Yeah, it made a ton of money. The advertising around it was spectacular. Just great. I mean, even having the actors and actresses disappear.
I think I also get like a appreciation for films that use a small budget and do things right. You may not like it, but if it makes so much money, it obviously more people thought it did something good. So it did everything right. Kept using like fans to blow the trees or something, and just have people running into walls seems such a stupid idea when you talk about it.
Run into the wall. Go stand in the corner. Stand in the corner. You're on timeout and we're recording you.
But just with how they set it up, how they told a story, made me honestly like it. Made the little jump scares that you had with the trees and the getting lost in the woods and finding something happened in my childhood like that too.
I bet it did.
It did. But that is my number.
Did the trees chase you?
No, the trees did not. The concept of somebody being behind the trees did. That was my number 4. Now, let's go to your number 3 and 2 because mine are just basically a recapping.
Yes. My number 3 is The Faculty. A while back I did remake versus original for Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I damn near put The Faculty on that list because it's just a homage and almost a love letter to that movie. It runs up to very similar alien coming down and taking over the body of the staff and the teachers at this school. The main characters are just the everyday characters you'd find. You have got, your jocks, you've got your popular girls, you got the goth, you've got the nerd who have to come together, and the drug dealer. Josh Hartnett had a great year, 90s.
Yeah.
But Elijah Wood was fantastic as the nerd. I have her name. I was smart. Clea DeVille and Jordana Brewster were amazing in this movie. I love Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
She was in the film?
Yes.
Brewster?
Yes.
Wow.
That style of you never know who's infected. You never know who's the alien. You had that. They're taking LSD because the alien can't take the LSD. To the big monster reveal of Elijah Wood having to survive from the big monster attack and using the bleachers to trap the monster long enough to inject it and get the kill. Just great movie. It's a lot of fun. You watch it because it feels like a high school. You have all of the stereotypical kids that you would see in a high school, and it helps the movie largely.
I hit your number 2.
My number 2 is a part of the Apocalypse trilogy by John Carpenter. Do you want to just say what your 3 and 2 are? Because you just said it's trend.
Okay, my 3 and 2 are, we already talked about the subject, Scream and Tremors 2, so there's nothing more I can elaborate on. I said while we were discussing Justin's picks, I mean, it's always nice when we have the same different orders, help us out, but Scream is 3, Tremors 2, Aftershock is number 2.
My number 2, like I said, part of the John Carpenter's Apocalypse trilogy, In the Mouth of Madness with Sam O'Neill. I believe it's O'Neill, Sam Neill.
Yeah, Neil.
Neil.
Not O'Neill. Neil.
No, I always think he has an O.
It catches you.
I don't know why, I always think he has an O. But for the longest time, I didn't watch it just because I couldn't separate him from Jurassic Park. I should have done it sooner because he's fantastic
a great
in
actor.
the horror movies. And The Mouth of Madness was amazing. I love the fact that it's about the guy who's the author, Crane. And he's become such a powerful guy that what he writes and what he makes becomes reality. To the point where even the town he uses in the book is real, and the monsters he's writing is real, and it's pretty much end of times now because he's writing it.
Now,
Love the fact you don't know what's going on, and the story and pacing was terrific. I don't want to say much anymore because you've got to go out and watch it yourself.
I might even have to go watch it.
You got to watch it. It is fantastic.
Because
just
that's your
chef's kisses.
That's your. Speaking of Sam Neill, it's funny that we're
before we jump to that one. The thing is, like, this would be a classic in every sense of the word, but because it's part of the Apocalypse trilogy,
it gets a bad rap.
It doesn't get a bad rap. It gets compared to The Thing.
Gotcha. Now, like I said,
Carpenter knew what he was doing.
He's one of the legends. Now, speaking of Sam Neill,
we actually somehow came to the same number one.
We really did.
There was no conversation. We didn't talk about this beforehand.
No. We, like, when we talk off camera about ideas, we just like, here's the idea, let's run with it, make our notes, and then when we meet up for recording, we see each other's list. Sometimes we'll show little crannies, but this is, like, he wrote his down first while we were surprising each other, and then I'm like, holy crap, we agreed on our favorite film, favorite horror film
of 1990, of the 90s.
Of the 90s. Go ahead.
Event Horizon.
My God.
That's just a beautiful movie. Just wonderful movie.
Well, where do you begin to talk
Sam
about?
Neill and Lawrence Fishburne.
Yep.
Just the chemistry those two had.
Yes.
They were
not just the chemistry, the acting abilities amongst them.
Yes.
Then, what really got... You combine two things I love, like, a lot when it comes to just hobbies and everything. You took a horror movie and you put it in space. I am a big space fan.
I'm not a space fan, but this movie is just too good to ignore.
Well, I'm just saying that's what attracted me.
A friend of mine lent me this movie that I used to work with, and he's like, "This is how I'm going to explain this movie to you, Justin. It's Hellraiser in space. At any moment, you're going to just expect Pinhead to show up, and if he did, you'd be like, oh, okay, that makes sense." The dimensions, the fact that
dimension crossing,
they're using a black hole,
and they're using science to explain it.
Well, yeah, science.
Right, but them, like, the whole idea of a lost big spaceship,
and the dimension they went to was hell.
Yeah, and it came back. Sam Neill turning from.
Oh, he was so creepy by the end of the movie.
Yes,
just
he
terrifying.
was.
The cuts and the eyes gone, and
then the dimension also haunting on people's, like, past and everything. My God,
it's just one of the perfect horror movies to come.
I don't think you'll ever come across a horror movie so perfect where you can name everything that makes it perfect.